I'm Gray Thompson, and you're listening to the FET College Football Podcast. I'm sitting outside in the west end of downtown Greenville. It's beautiful outside because I'm surrounded by fall leaves, the setting sun, and my beautiful co-host, Jay Spivey, Dr. J Spivey, PMSMD, Vitamin J.
Vitamin J, and oh my God.
What?
We've got...
I said beautiful, and yet...
We've got this other person here as our guest, and she's like, it's a girl. It's a girl.
She's got two X chromosomes. What's up, girl?
Well, it's vitamin E.
Vitamin
Erica Berg over here.
And it's like, holy crap, we got a girl on the College Football Podcast.
Thank you for being here, Erica.
You are so welcome. It's my pleasure.
Well, we are excited because this is Rivalry Week.
It's hard to say. Rivalry Week. Yeah.
With all the stuff going on, we got
Rivalry Week.
We got a lot of Rivalry Week. We got a lot to cover. But let's start with Clemson, and Clemson beat Duke handily in the end.
Key phrase.
You know who had the dirtiest uniform on the field?
Yes.
The quarterback of Duke.
The quarterback for Duke.
Yeah. He didn't have a good day.
But what a tough kid. I mean, he was limping in the second half.
He got punished.
He is a looks like an NFL quarterback playing in college.
He's a big boy. Mm-hmm. He ain't no puppy.
But I felt for Duke. They're such a good coach team with a good coach.
Yeah.
Brilliant year this year. Them being 7-4 is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Erica, what do you think about these purple uniforms that Clemson wears at Military Appreciation Day?
Well, little known fact, purple is like top 3 favorite colors for me. So,
top 3?
Top 3.
Next level.
Now, sparkly gold is obviously number 1. Right. So,
we have so much in common.
Yes. So gold is your favorite color
Crazy.
Too?
Sparkly gold.
Sparkly gold. Yes. So yeah,
right
I don't mean gold as in yellow gold. I mean gold as in, metal, sparkly gold. And then number 2 is rose gold. Actually, those are tied for 1 and 2. And then number 3 is purple. But all that said, purple uniforms, they were fantastic. And I love that Clemson only wears them once a year.
Is this why we have a double X chromosome here on the podcast? No.
Yes, it is, to talk about the beauty of colors.
Can I also say, I like the purple. I love Military Appreciation Week and what Clemson does with it. It's fantastic. But the purple on TV, it looked like blue and orange. They looked like the Florida Gators. They really did. It was gross. I watched several different footage feeds from it, and it was all Gators. That's what it looked like.
Quick story. We actually messed with the colors on the TV to try and get it to look purple, but it didn't work. So.
Did you really?
Well, absolutely. I'm telling you.
It's the bluest. It's the bluest purple.
Yes.
I've ever seen.
It was. I think it's because, again, Clemson has been playing a lot of day games, and so these last several games are at night, which the fans were sort of insisting on. Clemson's leadership responded, and so did their opponents, for what it's worth. But I think it's got something to do with being under the lights. It has to, because these are the same uniforms.
Yeah.
Again, they didn't change their helmets at all. They changed everything else, and it did look blue.
It did.
But I tell you, Clemson, came through, looked good. Beat a 7-3 team that should have been ranked in the top 25. The same Duke team beat Northwestern handily. Yeah. So there's, Duke's not Louisville.
No, wait a second.
Duke is not, Wake Forest midseason.
No.
Duke's a better team. Duke's kind of like our conference's Kentucky. Mm-hmm. A pretty good team.
You said it. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say Kentucky and Boston College, teams who, for me, are always fun to watch. David Cutcliffe has done a good job there. Clemson, Duke can't really stop the run, and Clemson decided for the first half, we're just not going to run the ball.
Yeah, it was kind of an odd.
They decided
They've done that a couple of games this season where I thought, what are you doing?
Why aren't we running the ball? Yeah, exactly.
And I think, did you see that ETN got upset like in the first quarter on the sideline? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I guess because the staff was calling all these pass plays, and then when they did run something, it's like they weren't blocking.
And it wasn't working. Look, Duke took the lead.
Right.
I mean, ETN has... I like to see guys go up into the coaches and say, look, give me the ball. I can get it done. Coach, I see these gaps. I see this stuff. You've got to see it too.
Right.
The coaches were doing this, I'd like to think, for a very specific and deliberate reason, in particular because of what ETN said, which we don't know what it was, but it wasn't effective. Duke was winning, and
it just took a while, it seemed like, to wake the giant. And then once Clemson woke up, there was never a doubt after it was 14-6.
I agree, and I think too, being senior night, all the things going on, I think that Clemson was just really jacked up. I think not just
too
the
much
team.
too much emotion.
It's too much emotion. Not just the team, but the fans, and that plays
maybe.
into it.
Oh, the fans are,
think,
but the fans are always great. The fans react to every drop pass and touchdown and penalty.
Just so much emotion.
It's a lot of pregame stuff.
What I saw, respectfully, they were calling for a lot of design throws, and Trevor Lawrence simply wasn't executing.
No, the first half of the game,
he was flat. He
really struggled the first half of the game.
The receivers got a lot of flack for dropping balls, which they deserve. They should catch these balls.
There were some I should say non-catches that were just gut-wrenching to watch.
And I speak for all three of us and everybody else out there. When Hunter Renfrow went down,
I almost cried.
Because he's such the sweetheart of a man.
He had dropped 2 balls too, and Trevor Lawrence had thrown him for 2 first downs that were bad throws. So he was just going for it like he does, hit the turf and got knocked out.
I am not sure. It's just not often that you see that happen, and that was
first time I've seen it happen to him.
And on senior night,
you always think of him as being the lunch pail tough kid. And that was heartbreaking, and from what I understand, he's okay, and he's going through concussion protocol and all that kind of stuff.
Gonna be fine.
But we need him because this weekend we get to play that other school in the state, and I'm not talking about Citadel.
School in the state?
I'm not talking about Citadel, and I'm not talking about Wofford.
Erica, look at his smile.
And I'm not talking about Presbyterian or Coastal or South Carolina State. I'm talking about the University of South Carolina Fighting Gamecocks are coming to Clemson.
Your alma mater.
Yes, I went to both schools, believe it or not.
I did not know that you went to
I am
both
a
schools.
Clemson fan who graduated from South Carolina.
Okay, you're a rarity.
I am a rarity.
I know a couple other ones.
And South Carolina's a tough team. They got a tough quarterback. They got some tough players. I really think, Clemson's favored by like 25 points. This goes one of 2 ways in a rivalry game. Either South Carolina has the game of their life and they keep it within 3-7 points, or Clemson's going to blow them out yet again. But if they beat them, fear the thumb, because it's 5 in a row.
Fear the thumb. That's coming back. Oh, no.
Look,
thumbs up.
The thumb is a very likely scenario, right?
Yeah.
I don't think
it is a likely
the way
scenario.
that South Carolina's fan base has responded to this weekend coming up is that there's no hope. Which leads me to what I think is going to happen is this game's going to get really ugly. It's not going to be pretty.
It's going to be ugly early.
Clemson can hang a lot of points on them, and I think they will, but I also think South Carolina's going to be out for blood. Again, I'm an Alabama fan. I grew up an Alabama fan. I'm also a Clemson fan. But to me, the South Carolina and Clemson rivalry is the most underrated in the country because it's hateful. And there hasn't been a lot of talk about this hate. So I want to hear from you, Erica, how you feel about this rivalry.
You've
seen both sides be successful.
I have, and I actually, really just in the last couple of years, being surrounded by lots of Clemson fans, and I have family that my family went both places. So it's always a split family, in our household. But I also, a side note, have a dad who moved here from Chicago, so he when he was a teenager, so he wasn't connected to either. So my family's been a little back and forth.
What is he connected to now?
He wants the locals to win. I feel like that's kind of a natural stance.
Clemson's the more local, so
more local?
They are, but he wants
Clemson?
USC to do good when they do good. He wants South Carolina to do good when they're playing, and then he wants Clemson to win when they're playing. But what I've noticed, and maybe I'm the only one who's seen this, is that my Clemson friends, the better Clemson's program has become, the more Dabo's done with it, they're less and less concerned about the Carolina game.
There's not as much trash talking coming from the Clemson end.
Not in the slightest. And I almost feel like the new unspoken rival is Alabama, and which I understand, but I've just seen this lack of concern for this game from the Clemson side. I don't know. Do you guys feel that way? Have you seen that?
I have not heard or seen the trash stuff on social media from South Carolina fans that as a Clemson fan, I'm used to seeing early in the season. And that's because South Carolina's lost 4 games.
And through the season. They've been silent this year.
And so I've actually seen more dread coming from Gamecock fans than I have seen overconfidence, because I think reality has finally sunk in Columbia. And that's that Muschamp is a good coach, but this is not something you flip a switch and all of a sudden you start
for sure.
You
and
start
Muschamp,
winning 10, 11 games.
He's going to need the chance to, just like they gave Dabo, he's going to need the chance to do what he wants to do with that program.
But
and
if he's not
given that
2-3 years from now, if he's still in a losing streak to Clemson, he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Should you base firing a coach on simply the rival? I mean, you can't compare Muschamp to
you say
to
that,
Clemson,
but let's put it this way: if Will Muschamp
compare his season to previous South Carolina seasons, and that's not fair.
Well, that's
to just
true.
compare
That's
it
true.
to
So
it
could
be the exclamation point if they lose 4 games next year, or 5 games, or whatever.
But
if their seasons are continually better and better and better, and Muschamp does better and better and better with the program, whether or not they lose to Clemson shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be his job security as winning to Clemson. Do you not agree?
Are you kidding me? Again, if South Carolina loses 6 SEC games but beats Clemson, he gets a contract extension. He gets a raise.
I just think that's ridiculous.
I'm sure
it's the same thing.
It's
the same thing. Ohio State, Michigan.
It's the same thing that happened to Auburn last year, and now they're upset that they made that decision.
I get it, but you have to compare Muschamp's record, with
you're right.
USC to previous records, to what Carolina has done in previous years. You can't just compare it to Clemson. I think that's just doing Muschamp a disservice. It's not fair.
On this rivalry, there was a great article.
He is, by the way, you're right.
There was a great article out this week, last week. The senior class at Clemson has accomplished more in 4 years at Clemson than the entire 100-and-something years of Gamecock football history.
That's incredible.
More conference titles, more playing for the championship, more weeks ranked, all that kind of stuff.
Let me say one more time, Dabo's the man.
He's done
that. Dabo has done that. I love Dabo Swinney so much.
You brought up Dabo.
I would be
coach.
more excited to see Dabo than like Brad Pitt in person. I mean, honestly, I adore him. Brad who? Brad Sweeney. Brad.
That's why we live here, right?
Right.
In the upstate South Carolina.
It's Clemson's they're picked to win by 25.
But you brought this up, and I want to highlight it because of what you said. Dabo had never coached a game of any kind in his life whatsoever. Will Muschamp comes from a pedigree of coaching. He was the defensive coordinator at LSU under Nick Saban with Jimbo Fisher as the offensive coordinator.
He does have it.
He was a head coach at several different prominent schools, including Florida in the same division of the SEC. Dabo had nothing. I'm going to sound like a homer here, but screw it. This is our podcast. Dabo is a winner. What Dabo Swinney was, he was a wide receivers coach at Alabama, and then he left the sport altogether, became the #1 realtor in the state of Alabama, which is hard to do. You got Birmingham, which is Metro, and you got the beach at Gulf Shores.
He can sell.
He can do. My point is Dabo is a winner. And I think the reason why Clemson was really stern on giving him the job was because you can tell. There's something different about guys like that. I'm not saying Will Muschamp isn't a winner. But Dabo Swinney, look, you said they've come to the realization of what they are. It's not. I think it's the realization of what Clemson is. And the truth is Clemson is elite. They're not flawless. Trevor Lawrence is still, how many games has he played in now?
This is
literally
his
11?
seventh start was Duke.
Seventh start, yes. But he's played in 11 games because this is his first
7
season.
games as a starter.
So my point is, what you said is, are they going to keep Will Muschamp for 3 years? They're going to keep Trevor Lawrence around for 3 years. This is year 1. So what do you do? Do you hope to beat Clemson? I guess, because if you do, that's how you keep your job. I don't know if losing to Clemson 3 years in a row, well, I guess it'll be, that would make it 7, but if that's enough.
Okay, so what if Muschamp has winning seasons? Not just winning seasons, but really phenomenal winning seasons.
Wins 8, 9, 10 games, he's okay.
Clemson. Is he really going to get fired? Is that what you're saying?
If he does 8 years in a row,
personally, I'm frustrated. I had such high hopes for him at Michigan.
But I tell you, there's a flip side of this too. The South Carolina is ranked 10th in the SEC.
10th out of 14th.
10th.
So behind Vanderbilt, Tennessee, I guess Ole Miss.
Tennessee's right behind them. So that tells
that's a scary thought.
That tells you from a power ranking kind of thing of how South Carolina is doing in their own conference. So yes, they may have lost 4 games or whatever, and that's not acceptable. But if they stay at that level in their own conference, he's gone 2 years
Of
from
course.
now.
And more to the point, I feel like it's his fault. That's the way I feel
Right.
has gone wrong this year.
He's got some talent, but truly, he's on a 2 or 3 year leash right now.
He's just got to have a
and
chance
if he gets embarrassed,
to do with that team what he wants to do with that team.
I don't know.
well, let's move on because we got a bunch of other rivalry games to cover quickly. But Bama, Citadel, you know, as a South Carolina resident, a Clemson fan, it did warm my heart a little
100%.
to see Citadel tied with Bama at the half.
Yep.
Now, I knew, and I called Gray because I went to the grocery store and missed the first half because I thought, why do I need to watch this?
You thought it was going to be a blowout.
I walk
for sure.
in, all of a sudden there's like a field goal
He
made.
said it on the podcast last week. I might watch 8 minutes of this
Right.
game
And
because I
so,
don't want to be
and
bored.
literally, I come in from Publix, put my stuff down, turn on the TV,
And they're tied.
and then
for
they
half.
kick a field goal. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I called Gray, and I'm like, Gray, what the hell's going on? I didn't watch this.
I
And
know
he-
what you wanted.
and
You
he
wanted
goes-
my heart rate to go up.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm sitting here with a bunch of Alabama fans at Ink and Ivy watching the game, and I'm like their
Hey, Sherry,
therapist.
roll tide.
I'm their therapist. I have calmed down everybody and said, y'all just relax. Don't worry about it. And so the second half,
Well, the truth
it
is
was
I tried.
50-something to 7 in the second
Of
half.
course.
I couldn't calm anybody down, but I tried. I got
Yeah.
their blood pressure to come down a few
So
ticks.
it was their own version of Duke, but yet Duke's a
It
better
was-
team than
the
Citadel.
irony is, so the top 4 teams are Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Michigan, according to the College Football Playoff Committee.
Right.
Alabama, Clemson, and Michigan were all struggling with these teams in the
Yep.
first half. In fact, Michigan was being beaten by
Yeah.
Indiana, in
Yeah.
the first half. Hunter Renfrow went down by hitting the turf with his head, and he's out. He's a senior. Damian Harris, a senior for
Yeah.
Alabama, hits his head and goes out. It's just
Well,
crazy to see
but
the
I knew-
parity there.
now-
I
there-
love that he had to put Tua in order to get a win. Like, to me,
Put to it.
He left him in.
yeah, he
Left
put
him
him in,
in.
left him in. But my
Took him out,
first
by the
thought-
way, again in the fourth quarter. He didn't play a single snap in the fourth quarter again.
But he had to put him in. My whole
Had
thought
to.
about that, what he did, he had to
so
put him
glad
in.
you're here.
Well, you were
He
no,
had
they
to
were
put him
tied.
in.
They were tied.
He had to put him in to beat Citadel. So it tells me that, I mean, Clemson's clearly got, in my opinion, the best defensive line in the country. And so what it tells me is that Alabama's defensive line is going to struggle against.
This is why I'm glad you're
Well, see,
here.
we need to.
Against
Clemson
I mean,
needs to learn a few triple option plays.
That's the thing.
And don't be surprised if Auburn, in the rivalry game,
Go on.
does some triple option
Huh.
based off
Yeah.
of what they saw with Citadel.
I would not be
Just
surprised.
Nope.
for the hell of it,
Yep.
because it makes Alabama stand still and watch, just like it does anybody else that plays Georgia Tech or
Agreed.
Army or whoever. But you know, it's really going to be Auburn's still going to lose by 38 points or more, but
Citadel was chop blocking like crazy, and then the second half, if you watched any of it, what you saw was their O-line, as soon as the ball was snapped, they hit the ground because
Right.
Alabama was coached to just
Yeah.
take a step
Step
backwards.
back and let
It's
them-
always terrible to see
Right.
guys just hit the ground.
Yeah.
300-pound men just flopping.
well, no, these are Citadel linemen. These were 250-pound linemen.
But what you said last week, stop it. You're right.
That's
Good point.
fantastic.
What you said last week about somebody having something happen against
Right.
Alabama that's going to be something they'll never forget.
Right.
That is exactly what happened.
And so
happened.
Citadel's
And I'm gonna
recruiting, holy crap, after this game.
Is that what you think?
Oh my
I
God,
don't
their
know about
recruiting's
that.
gone through the roof because we took the number 1 team in the country for a half to a tie.
fantastic.
Citadel's recruiting, their Twitter account went nationwide
Did it really?
crazy.
If you were
in the
watching
first
any
half.
other football game,
Which
it got
cracks me up.
interrupted by showing Citadel kicking a field goal to tie it with Alabama
Yes.
at the half.
I'm having flashbacks.
And I think that's college football.
Appalachian State.
Yes.
I swear,
It was,
I'm having flashbacks.
but it was Appalachian.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah.
Right.
What I did not feel that way, and it was.
Gray was so calm on the phone, and he said,
I was
Jay,
calm in real life.
he goes, just relax. He goes, this, after the half, this
Well,
is over.
That's what I said about Clemson, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know,
It's
let's just we need
little
to get our
different because that was a
emotions in check,
conference
but-
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little different, but that's still what I said. Like, just calm down, wait till the
Yeah.
second half.
But I'll say it as an Alabama fan, what I'm aware of. Look, and I said it in week 0. Alabama won the championship last year, which is the number one reason why I didn't expect them to win it this year.
Right.
And now it looks like they have a very strong chance to. But my hopes are not as sky high, right?
All right.
And so I know the best thing I love the sport first and foremost, Roll Tide, but I love college football.
I
know
do
there's
too.
nothing better for the sport than when
That's right.
Alabama loses. That's the truth.
Right.
It's so good for the sport that even when they're tied at the half for the first time ever, it's important. Look, this happened last year. Everybody would get a touchdown before Alabama, and people would go berserk. And I learned not to panic, but I also learned to enjoy how much everybody else enjoyed it.
Same
and
thing.
Then to flush the second half
Same
down
thing
the
with
toilet.
Clemson, and Clemson's finally gotten to that point where it was Duke 6, Clemson 0. What was the final score?
Did Duke score another touchdown?
No,
No.
it was 35 to 6.
Clemson's defense is, I want to say, understated. Everybody's been aware of it all year long, but
Their
they
secondary's
I don't
gotten
think
better
it's
too.
understated.
Their secondary has gotten better, but by nature, what they're doing is over pursuing, which led
Right.
to a lot of Duke's success in
Right.
moving the ball. Again, the red zone means a lot. They had to kick field goals to get points on the board. Michigan kicked 6 field goals this weekend.
Yeah.
That's not championship caliber football.
there
Meanwhile,
were
Notre
some-
Dame was scoring a bunch of touchdowns, and then eventually Clemson and Alabama went into halftime, and coaches
Right.
did their job, and
Right.
it worked.
They adjusted. They got serious.
I heard one of the announcements say that Dabo was going to give him a pep talker, and I thought, no, he's not. He's going to coach him. He's going to do
Did
his
you
job.
see him at halftime when he went into the tunnel?
Yes.
Did he look furious?
No. No.
You expect him to, right? That's what
No.
a lot of people said that about Coach Sweeney and Coach Saban. And I said,
Yeah.
look at them; they're not behaving that
No.
way,
Yeah.
and that's not what happened.
Because
that's
they
not
know
what,
their
They
teams.
know.
Yeah.
and they know how to do their job.
Exactly. It's not a pep talk. It's
So it
coaching.
would take Alabama having to throw like 5 interceptions in a row for Citadel to be able to stay in that game.
I'm not making excuses for him, but what happened in the first half was a lot of turnovers,
Right.
bad mistakes.
Well,
It was sloppy.
to kick the second half off. Citadel kicked it short to a tight end. He caught the ball and said, I'm going to run with it anyway. That's the way I think he
Right.
sounds because he looks so big. And obviously didn't know what he was doing. He fumbles the ball. Citadel picks it up. I mean,
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
it's good. It's fun.
I know
Roll
that
Tide.
the Bama-Auburn game is a big deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's almost to me like the Army-Navy game. So where you go to Navy, they're teaching you day one. When you're a plebe, you are screaming out, go Navy, beat Army. And same thing at West Point. I mean, that is
Thank
part
you.
of
Yeah.
your training. And it's almost exactly that way with Auburn, Alabama. To where when you go to Auburn, you are basically instructed that you have to be against Alabama in all things. And same thing at Alabama to Auburn. And there are other rivalries for both of them and all. But this is the in-state thing.
It's the only in-state thing. Again, it's a state with no pro
Right.
teams whatsoever. They don't have anything
Well, it's
even
like
associated with
it's-
them like the Charlotte, North Carolina Panthers have here in South Carolina.
Right.
Birmingham is the #1 sports market, bar none, every year, period. It's a big metro area in a state that's otherwise pretty desolate. It's not all that dissimilar from what we have here in South Carolina. It's just twice as big.
Well, and,
Yeah.
and the thing that gets me, and this tells you how good Alabama is,
Roll Tide.
and kind of how surprising it is to me, the point spread
It's
for
fun to recall.
Alabama Auburn is almost exactly the same as Clemson South Carolina. It's 24.5, 25 points. So Auburn, I think of in my head as being a much better team than the University of South Carolina.
Why?
I just do. Maybe there's program history or whatever.
It is program history,
But
though, right? It's not from results this year. It's not from scheme.
This is for Alabama, kind of like the Clemson South Carolina game. There's no reason Auburn should win. There's no reason Auburn should be in this game.
There's plenty of reason. Again, the only threat that I think the top defenses in the country year in, year out have is an elite level quarterback.
Right.
Jarrett Stidham is a Big 12 quarterback transfer who has what it takes to torch anybody. Look, no matter how good your defense is, the perfect throw can beat anybody in any level
But he's
of the
got to
sport.
have the day of his life.
That's the thing. He's starting to get control of it. They had no running game and were extremely predictable, and they've started to flesh that out more. Alabama is relatively susceptible to runs on the edge, but Auburn doesn't seem to have that attack on the edge. However, Auburn just blanked Liberty.
Yes, ma'am.
You know how I feel about the 0.
Yeah.
And you can say what you want about Liberty, but they
Zero's
scored like
hard.
60-0. So,
Zero's hard.
Let me tell
and
you what I know
Alabama
about-
missed 2 more extra points against
Well,
the Citadel.
Let me tell you what I know about Auburn. 3 words. War damn eagle. And that's all I got. So I'm sorry that I cannot participate
Well,
in this conversation.
it's kind
I'm
of.
so glad you're here. Do you know that allegedly, I say allegedly, because some people dispute it, I like to think this is great college football history. Clemson comes from Auburn. Did you know this? Have you ever been to Auburn?
I did
Where
not
they
know this.
used to roll the trees at Toomer's Corner. At that intersection, there's a giant, it's basically Clemson's logo, right? It's the tiger paw in the middle of the intersection on the street. Auburn, long story short, so as legend goes, they gave their uniforms one year to Clemson so that they could develop a football program. Their blue had worn to purple, and that's how Clemson adapted the purple and orange.
Now,
they called themselves the
Is this
Tigers.
myth or is this truth?
No, it's true.
It's
It's
true,
true.
but
Okay.
some people dispute
But it's kind
it.
of it's
You said
kind of like
disputed, so that's what I was wondering.
it's kind of legend too. But
It's so long ago that I don't know.
But there's
Nobody's
a-
still alive.
there's
from
a
it.
great great relationship from long ago, from over 100 years ago between Auburn and Clemson.
They named the team the Tigers after the Auburn Tigers
Right.
as a sign of respect.
They helped
I
Clemson's-
like to think that it's true because I like the story.
They helped Clemson
sounds
set
like
up.
it is.
They helped Clemson set up their football
Yeah.
program.
It's a good story.
You know, and it's
I
kind
hope it's
of.
true too.
I love that kind of stuff. But now, Auburn's not going to win. Alabama
I sure hope
is.
not, but the ultimate troll during rivalry week is once again, this game doesn't matter to us at all. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to
All
the
right.
results. We still got to play Georgia in 2 weeks
Right.
in the SEC title game,
Well,
and that's what matters.
Let's switch.
No, let me.
He doesn't
Roll
want to quit
Tide.
talking about
Roll
Alabama.
Tide.
It's-
All right, let's quickly run.
Roll Tide.
Let's quickly run through these big games. All right, because these are the ones that are coming up this weekend. Georgia Tech. Georgia's favored by almost 18 points.
And obviously, since I own two Bulldogs, I want Georgia to win
There you
that
go.
game.
Well, there you go. Go
Moving on.
Georgia.
That's all I know about Georgia Bulldogs. Ugga.
What's the difference?
so cute.
What's the difference between a catfish and an Auburn cheerleader?
No.
One wears a short skirt.
One of them has whiskers, and the other is a catfish.
Oh my God, that is terrible.
That's terrible.
What?
So
It's rivalry week.
Georgia Tech. I mean, unless Georgia Tech plays the game of their life with their crazy ass offense.
This is a good example because Georgia hates them so much
Right.
they don't call them Georgia
But
Tech.
Georgia-
they call them Tech.
but
Just call them
Georgia's-
Tech.
To get Georgia out of there.
Georgia's owned Tech for the last number of years, and that just
There it
leads.
is.
But Tech's playing better today than they've played all season.
You know what I wish? I wish this were a video, and I would just show a video of my Bulldogs. My little doggies, Phoebe and Joey.
That's not a bulldog. What is that's butt chugging? You can't
Stop.
show that.
You
Gross.
stop.
Erica?
All right,
They're perfect.
so Georgia's going to beat Georgia Tech.
Sure. And again, I think Georgia's one of the best teams in the country.
Right. All right. So let's go on. Oklahoma's playing West Virginia, and it's now West Virginia lost.
Brutal loss to Oklahoma State. Oh man, it was close.
But God, Oklahoma didn't cover the spread.
Oklahoma has not. They've let so many points come through the door.
They
I'm
allow
trying to do
more
the math
points.
in my head as we sit here live, but I think the Big 12 championship game has to be. Is it not going to be Oklahoma and Texas, or is it dependent on this Oklahoma-West Virginia game?
It's dependent.
Is it dependent on what Texas does?
It's
I don't
just
even know
confusing.
anymore.
It's confusing, and none of
It's a
them,
rematch no matter what. So what
and
difference
none
does
of
it
them,
make?
and none of them are going to the playoffs.
I did not
so let's
want
skip
Oklahoma State to lose, or I'm sorry, for West Virginia to lose to Oklahoma State this weekend because it eliminated so much and nobody was talking about it, and they're not talking about it now because it's
that. They're
over.
almost. It's
sucks.
almost kind of an irrelevant big.
It is
fun,
now.
A big fun game. It's
I
going to be like
knew
a
that-
video game.
I knew there would be a moment in this podcast where I had nothing to add,
All right.
and that is now.
So the next one.
Oklahoma has not no defense, but they sometimes just look putrid.
Their
offense
opponents-
is so incredible that you almost want to see them in the playoff. Let's
it
just leave
reminds
it at
me
that.
of professional football then, huh?
No,
really good
because
offenses
professional
and
defense,
defenses are not
professional
that great.
football has defense.
Ah.
Yeah, and that's one of the outliers with professional football
Yeah.
is that they have defense.
We'll
Yeah,
be
you
done
don't
in like
usually
5
see
minutes.
teams score 45. What you also don't usually see
Yeah,
often
but you
in-
never
in-
see something to nothing.
This is what
All right.
college football has done this year is you see 50-point spreads.
right.
Again, we're coming back to Jay, you're talking about Vegas. What Vegas does is they want to make lines that make people bet. So
Yeah.
50 points against a run option team seems
All
strange
right.
because it shouldn't happen.
So-
but it never happens in the pros.
Quickly. Washington State.
The Apple Cup.
So Washington State. The only reason I care about Washington State is
I don't know.
the
'Cause it's
quarterback.
pretty?
The quarterback. Do you know where
'Cause
he
it's
went?
pretty? Because the state's beautiful?
The
this
state's
is-
beautiful.
this is why
It's
you
a
have a girl on the
beautiful game.
podcast. It's
It's
such a
the
beautiful
Apple
game.
Bowl.
Gardner Minshew was one of my favorite guys. He was at Eastern Carolina.
He has got the porn star stash
Yes.
going this season.
Yeah.
It is the funniest.
I don't feel great about that.
No, but
I love
he
it.
wears it well, and it just cracks me up that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
Did you know he was committed to Alabama?
And didn't go because
Mike Leach said, hey, why don't you come here? He didn't sell him anything. He didn't give him a pitch. But he knew he was going to sit the bench at
he
Alabama.
can hurl that
Gardner
football.
Minshew, we were excited to get him, but we knew he was going to sit the bench anyway. He wants to be a coach long term. That's why he wanted
He's
to
a
go
good
to
kid.
Alabama.
He's a good
great
kid.
I want to say real quick, I love Tua Tagovailoa, Roll Tide, but Gardner Minshew is gone after this year. I think he's the best. He's the most exciting,
He's the most fun guy to
most
watch.
representative of
Yeah.
the sport. I would be thrilled if Gardner Minshew won the Heisman. I'm definitely rooting for the Cougars
go
this
Cougars.
weekend against Washington. Go
Michigan,
Cougars.
Ohio State, I really couldn't give a crap. Ohio State's basically out of it. Michigan, I hope,
Can
wins.
we, real quick, did you see
Just make it
Urban Meyer
real
grabbing
quick.
his little baby corn on the sideline?
Yes.
Sorry, did you say baby corn? Like
He
one
was-
you like a little mini
he was
salad?
kinda- he was
pinching it.
He was playing with himself on the
No,
sideline.
he can't handle the stress. He had a cyst
That
removed
sounds
from
gross.
his
It was
brain.
kind of obnoxious.
This
to,
guy is
Ugh.
going through sincere health problems. He had his head in his hands. He's down on his knees
Right.
against Maryland. This isn't the way a coach should behave. This is also not the way a man should behave if he's
Right.
trying to watch his health for his
Thug
family.
Meyer.
I want him to leave because he's dying. He's basically killing himself out there because he can't
Right.
handle this stress. It's killing him. It's filling his
Right.
blood with
It's too
cortisol.
much.
Right.
I don't like to see it.
Right.
My blood pressure's going up just talking about it, so let's move on.
And the biggest upset, crazed thing that's not going to happen,
One.
Notre Dame's going to beat Southern Cal by 438 points. Southern
God, I
Cal
hope
is
you're
so
right.
bad. So
They're not that
don't,
bad, but
do
Notre
not
Dame-
watch this game. If there is a game,
Do not watch this game.
if there is
Just
a
don't
game
watch.
not to
Spare
watch,
yourself.
This is why
is
I'm here.
Notre Dame Southern Cal, because Southern Cal looked like a Girl Scout troop playing against UCLA this past weekend, and UCLA sucks.
Okay, moving
So,
on.
all right, so let's move on.
Wait a second.
For-
But
no.
this is
Moving
Notre
on.
Dame's last game.
Who cares?
My
Moving
point
on.
is,
They're
this is
gonna win
the
it.
only shot
They're
they
gonna win.
have, so they have to
gonna
decimate.
win.
They destroyed Syracuse, and they look
They're
great.
gonna,
Go
they're
on.
gonna, they're gonna win.
They're the number 3 team in
Florida,
the country. Moving on.
Florida State, and that is my upset of the week. Florida State.
Which one is the upset?
Florida State's going to win this
Okay.
game, and it's because Florida State's got talent, and they're tired of looking like they don't.
Florida State, if they don't win this game, they will be bowl ineligible
Right.
for the first time in,
They're
I
gonna
think,
beat
38
Florida.
years. It's a record, whichever year it is.
And
So,
then last one, and it's relatively insignificant, is Mississippi State Ole Miss.
the Egg Bowl. This is a revenge game. This
I
is
know.
when Nick Fitzgerald got broken last
Right.
year.
The Egg Bowl just sounds sad.
Have you ever?
Well, nobody cares outside of the state of Mississippi.
That's why
Like,
that's
right,
why I'm here.
Like the Paul Bunyan Bowl. That's
Right?
A, that's
Ooh,
a
weird.
good
Why?
name, right? You can hang your hat on it. But the Egg Bowl.
the Egg Bowl. So I'm saying, ooh, weird.
I just
Why?
like surrender and not even go to it.
Don't
but,
go.
Ugh.
Right, so,
Go Bulldogs.
We've
Clay.
had this has been
I'm not happy
this
with
has been
Clay.
rivalry week. Go Tide, Roll Tide, Go Tigers. Gamecocks, I'm sorry.
It's not happening.
Thanks to Velo for letting us sit outside their
wait a
plays.
second. Furman also played their last game. We
They're
had to
done.
talk this year, but they solidified their spot in the Southern Conference. It's a 3-way tie with Wofford and Middle Tennessee State. Furman turned it on. They beat Mercer. Mercer on the second
Hey,
play.
real
I'm
quick,
sorry. Go
I
ahead.
know we're only talking football, but
Yeah.
how about the Furman Villanova upset?
I know basketball. Furman basketball's doing great.
Did that happen or did that happen? I don't know.
Plus,
Whatever.
Furman played Mercer, and Mercer played Clemson today in the Cayman Islands.
Hot dog.
No, wait,
I'm gonna go-
Akron,
I'm
who
gonna
they
go to the
play
Cayman
next
Islands.
weekend.
Oh,
Whatever.
I've been to the Cayman Islands.
You have? I'm gonna go.
Because don't
It's
forget,
cool.
South Carolina has a game while the
Erica,
SEC
you want to go to the
championship
Cayman
game is
Islands?
I mean, if you're paying, I'm
If they
going.
if
I'm
they
going.
rename
yeah,
it,
I bought a lottery ticket.
You're paying.
I'd rather go to
we're
the
all
Grayman
going
Islands.
if we win the lottery.
Yeah.
The Grayman Islands. How does
All
that
right,
sound?
so
Paradise.
football,
Paradise
football. We're done for this week. Now,
Disappointment.
we're not going to be back on the podcast.
Can we at least mention
Until-
UCF with a big win
until-
over Cincinnati?
Oh my
Yeah,
God!
you need to mention it.
UCF is going to have another little parade somewhere down in Florida at the end of
Alabama
this
is playing
season,
Auburn, who is not ranked
and
in
it
the top
really
25.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
UCF,
It's
They're
insignificant.
undefeated.
they're undefeated.
And it's good that I'm so happy for
And
them.
they're fun to watch.
And their
Leave it
parade,
at that. Just
maybe
leave it at that.
maybe their parade will be bigger this year.
You're terrible.
I'm calling out their AD who wants all this stuff. They've done a really good job of raising a ton of revenue and
Right.
attention from this
Right.
stuff, including getting Collins
It's good
game day
for
this
them.
weekend, which was fantastic. Lee Corso, I've never seen him done this. He did the full head-to-toe dress-up as the UCF Knight mascot. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun.
Now,
They had a ton of fans
wait.
there. They need to transition that into getting a Power 5 conference team on their schedule. They can do
Yeah.
it, and they're not making those phone calls. That's
All right.
what they need to do.
So we're going to be back for the podcast for the conference championships.
Plus South Carolina and Akron. I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
No, we're not going to be back just for that.
We're not
We're
gonna
going to be
come
That will
back.
make them bowl eligible.
We're gonna be back.
if they win.
And also, Army-Navy game. Army-Navy game is December 8th.
Army beat Colgate, undefeated Colgate, the game that Furman didn't
Army
get to
is
play because of
ranked
the weather.
and is 9-2. They're in the top 25. So,
Okay.
my dad, having been in the 82nd Airborne, go Army, beat
Go
Navy.
Army.
We'll see you next week. Thank you, Erica.
Hey, thanks for having me. You guys
Erica,
are awesome.
you are the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I
We
am.
will.
They call
We
me the
will
goat.
see y'all.
Like Eminem.
We will see y'all
call me the
right
goat.
before the conference championships. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about how much you hate South Carolina real quick?
I want to say nothing except I love you guys so much.
Oh, it's so sweet. God, we're gonna do this more often. Okay, great.
Fed it be. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.